friends, it's Belinda here from Be Making Joy, and welcome to my channel. This is episode 4 of What Brings Me Joy, and I'm recording on Tuesday, March the 7th, and it will be available for your viewing tomorrow on WIP Wednesday. I'm welcoming you back. If you are a returning viewer, I appreciate you so much, and if you are a new viewer, welcome. I'm so glad to have you. This is where I come to you every second week to share with you what brings me joy, mostly knitting. I'm from my home in Calgary, Alberta, and I might share a little bit about my life. So let's get started with some finished objects. I have 2 finished objects to show you, lots of work in progress on some of my other works, WIPs, and I'm really stumbling to start this one today. Okay, well, this first finished object is my temperature scarf for 2022. Oh, I'm knocking over Bianca. So this temperature scarf for 2022 starts in January of 2022 and goes all the way to December. Each row is a day, 365 rows. I pre-assigned the colors based on a 5 temperature range. So for example, it started January 1st with a green because the temperature was somewhere between 0 and -5. Then the yellow was for between 0 and +5 Celsius, of course, because we're in Canada. These yarns are over 30 years old, deep stash to get rid of. They're all acrylics. So I worked 1 row at a time in knitting and left all the tails. I haven't woven them in because I kind of like them there. So I just tied each one off with its neighbor to secure it. And because it's stockinette stitch, it's rolling. So I'm quite satisfied with it. The fuzzy pink parts, that's for the days when it was above +30 Celsius here in Calgary. That's my temperature scarf for 2022. I'm going to get started on one for 2023. I've done temperature blankets in the past, but my plan going forward is to do scarves and then over the years sew them together into a blanket. So I have, I think, about another month or more of wearing this because we're still buried under snow in Calgary. So I will definitely start wearing this tonight. I think it's so fun. My other finished object, Bianca here is wearing the hometown hoodie. This one is for my daughter. This is the 4th one I've made of it. This is my own design, my pattern available on Ravelry. I called it the hometown hoodie. It's done on 10mm needles with a super bulky yarn, so it's nice and warm and cozy. I've done them in the past with Lion Brand hometown yarn and thick and quick woolies, and this one is in a Karen anniversary cake, so it's acrylic. It's working just as well. Because it's a self-striping yarn, I had to do some color management to make my sleeves match. All that means is that I had to cut out sections of the ball till I got back to the right color for the sleeve. So it's a top-down raglan, and then the stitches are picked up for the hood and closed off at the top with a Kitchener stitch. I did finish another dishcloth on the treadmill and then immediately cast on another one. It's in the kitchen. I don't have it to show you. And I won't be counting dishcloths in my WIP count from now going forward because it's an ongoing project on the treadmill. As soon as I finish one, I'll cast on another one. So if any of my Calgary friends want a dishcloth, please let me know. Now, the Love Note KAL is coming along with only a little hiccup. If anyone doesn't know, KAL, K-A-L, means knit along. So it's where a group of people knit the same thing, share their thoughts on it, and encourage each other along with it. So this KAL was organized by Megan from Pearl Passion. And she also created a bingo game for us with squares to fill in, as such as finish this part, finish that part. Posted a picture and then dropped a stitch, learn something new, things like that. So, what was I going to say about that? Yeah, I didn't think I was going to learn anything new, but I did. So the body part includes short row shaping to make the back slightly longer than the front. And I was struggling with the pattern calls for wrap and turn, which I've done before, which has turned out quite nicely, but I was struggling with it in this case. The short rows progressively get shorter and shorter, and then you go around and pick up all those wrap and turns again. And on one side, they looked quite fine. On the other side, I had gaps. So I did some research to find another short row method that would work. And at first, I tried laddering down and changing my stitches to a German short row cast on. And I've laddered down in the past and fixed stitches before, but in this case, it just wasn't working for me. So I frogged it back, did all those short rows again, and so I decided to learn something new. I learned the Japanese short row. And that turned out very nicely because it uses less yarn because you're not actually wrapping around the stitch. You're just adding a stitch marker there to hold that spot. And then when you come back to resolve them, you're picking up that extra stitch and knitting it together with the stitch on the other side of the gap. So it closes it up quite tightly. Not sure if you can see where they were. So my body is finished. I'm ready to start on my sleeves. I'm enjoying that. So that's the Love Notes sweater pattern by Tin Can Knits. So I'll link that below. And the yarn I'm using is not a recommended yarn, but I hit gauge and I like the fabric, so it's working nice. It's a Lion Brand Pound of Love in the, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's a discontinued colorway lavender, and I had 3 pounds of it in my stash. Of course, the pound started to get tangly before the end of the body, so I rewound it into a cake before I start my sleeves, and I love a nice squishy soft cake. Isn't that beautiful? Anyway, the half and half triangle wrap pattern by Pearl Soho. It's gotten a few more rows since I spoke to you last. Not a whole lot, just a few. Here we go. So it needs a little more attention at this moment because the rows are shorter. Every time I get to that wrap and turn, I have to put my glasses on so I can see where to pick up the wrap. But that's coming along nicely. I'm going to repack it into a cloth bag instead of this heavy plastic bag so it can come on a trip with me next week. Next week, my husband and I are going to Denver for a few days. He has business meetings, and my yarn and I are happy to tag along. So that will definitely get a lot of work on it next week. My purse project has made a lot of progress. My sock. I worked on it again Friday when I was out with my daughter, and Saturday at another hockey game. I've decided that it's a spa sock, so no heels, no toes. It's for putting on after I've moisturized my feet. And now I think I'm going to put I-cords between the toes, because after a long day of walking on my feet, I like to put usually a folded Kleenex between my toes to give them a nice stretch. So I think the I-cord between the toes I will enjoy. And I know there is a product on the market recently that's been showing up in my Facebook feed that's very similar, so that's my inspiration. What do you think? Is this something I should write up a pattern for? Is that appropriate to kind of be copying this product that's already on the market? At any rate, I am doing this for myself. So this will come with me on the airplane. Well, this stock is ready to cast off, and then I'll start a new one for the airplane. That's that. My Over the Rockies shawl pattern is still with the tech editor, but I have started a new sample with the yarn I showed you last week. The yarn is from Michael's, their own Loops and Threads line, Luxe Merino DK weight, 55% superwash, 45% acrylic. So this is the second sample of my Over the Rockies shawl pattern that, as I said, the test editor has it now. It's my interpretation of what it looks like coming out of, looking out the window of an airplane when you're flying over the Rockies, and then there'll be some sky at the top of it. So the mountains in a zigzag pattern, and then the sky will be in a stockinette. So those are the only projects that I've worked on since my last episode. I do have more WIPs, UFOs. So what's my count now? I had 11 UFOs when I spoke to you last. We've since finished the temperature scarf and the hometown hoodie, and I cast on the Over the Rockies shawl. And I'm not going to count my dishcloths because they're one after the other. So that brings me down to 10 works on the needles. So that's, I count that as a success. I've eliminated one of my count, but I've added more counts to my head of future ideas. Not good. Or it is good. It is good. Anyway, I have some new yarn to show you, but a quick update first on other happenings. We had a visit from our oldest daughter a week ago Friday. She spent half a day with us. She lives in Banff, an hour and a half away. And so we had a good catch up with her. And then we took her out for supper at the Avenida Food Market. And if you're in Calgary, I really recommend the Avenida Food Market. It's just off of McLeod Trail between Anderson and Canyon Meadows in the southeast. It's a farmer's market type of place, so it's only open from Thursday to Sunday. But it's kind of a food court with lots of stalls giving out hot food, street food from every culture you can think of. So we each went to our own booths and got our food and met back in the food court and ate our supper together. And it also, they have take-home foods, pre-packaged soups, pierogies, vegetables. A lot of it is gluten-free and vegan. But then there's also a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker. I'm joking about that, but there is artwork and home decor. So yeah, there probably is candles there too. It's a very fun place. We have had a habit for the last couple of years of going out every Friday, or getting takeout mostly every Friday. And we call it Skip the Dishes Friday, but we don't necessarily use the Skip the Dishes app. When we're able to, we go pick it up directly from the restaurant ourselves so that they can save on that Ship the Dishes cost. So last Friday, my daughter and I had tickets to Anastasia, the musical. Before that, we went out to Moxie's in the of Calgary in Shaughnessy area. And we enjoyed that. Music was kind of too loud to have a conversation because my daughter and I both are very soft-spoken people. So she played on her phone while we were waiting for the meal, and I did some knitting on my sock. Then we went to Anastasia. I did some knitting before the show started. I did some knitting at intermission. And it was a very late show. The show didn't start till 8, so it didn't end till 11 something. And then, funny, we were trapped in the parkade for a little while. It's we were on the bottom level of the parkade, and you had to go up a little hill outside to exit. And there was a van a couple of cars ahead of us that couldn't make that little hill for some reason or other. I don't know. So anyway, so that was fine. It was a bit of patience, and eventually people came and helped him out, or her, or whatever. I didn't see the driver. Anyway, Friday, that was. Saturday, I met up with a friend and helped her pick out some colors for a knitting project she's going to start. We had fun together. My husband was very surprised when I went to a yarn store and came home with nothing. And then we went out and had a coffee, and not a coffee. We were planning to go for a coffee, and then when we got there, we thought about ordering a supper because it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We settled on an appetizer and dessert because I was going out for supper with my husband after that. So yeah, that was at Rockies. And then we went out, my husband and I, to Joey's Seafood for supper. So I've had more than my share of takeout in this past 2 weeks. And then next week, while we're away in Denver, we'll be all takeout food or prepared food by these business groups, perhaps. Anyway, so I better get some more treadmill sessions in. Anyway, and I have more yarn. I've been going to Ancient Arts yarn store almost every Thursday for their afternoon knit group. And while I was there, one of the staff members, Heather, was working on socks from this pattern, herding socks. The pattern is by Stone Knits, and so I got to watch Heather making hers. And Ancient Arts has yarn colorways designed after their own cats, their studio cats, they call them, although the cats don't get to come to this new store location, but that they have colorways. So they decided to put together this kit based on their cat colorways. And you had a choice between the green and a blue as your background color. And pardon the noise while I open this package. There we go. So that's my background color. And then all the cat colors. I'll put on my glasses so I can tell you what the cat colors are. This is Maine Coon Callie. This one, the ginger, almost like my own cat, is called Abyssinian. This one is Gray Tabby. This one is Tortoise Shell Cat. This one is Calico Cat. We used to have a calico cat when my daughter was very young, my oldest. This is Tuxedo Lily. Wish I knew more about the background of that one. And this is Tuxedo Cat. So, Tuxedo Cat and Tuxedo Lily. I guess the difference is the green at it for some reason. So the pattern has 7 rows of cats, and each row will be a different cat color. I don't know when I'm going to cast that on, but watching the staff put it together while we were there for the knit group gave me ample opportunity to fall in love with it. And it's done on a sock NATO base, I think. The background color is a sock needle. I assume these are too. I'm not seeing it on the tag. Done in a sock needle base, and these are minis, and they do have full-size skeins of all of these. So sock needle is an 80% superwash, a 20% nylon fingering weight sock yarn. And that, the only purchase I made in the last 2 weeks. Are you proud of me? And that covers the last 2 weeks. I don't think there's anything I've missed. If there is, I'll catch you up next time. So thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, please click the like button so that more people can be shown this video. And if you'd like to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified the next time a video airs, which should be 2 weeks. And I thank you for watching. Happy knitting, happy stitching, happy baking, happy whatever you do, go find some joy.